And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. And I'm joined today by the Dr. Tanya Simmons. Tanya Simmons. I always goof up one of those names, either the title or the name, whatever.
That's okay.
But
That's okay.
I do that, just crack her up because she overlooks me.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you guys.
Oh,
Good to
we've
be
got
here
a
again.
great friend of ours here. He's been on the
Mhm.
show before. Rennie Gabriel is my kind of people. And when I say that, Rennie has got skin in the game. He comes from a background of, at one time in his life, he literally had to go out and pick up aluminum cans and bottles and things, whatever he could, to recycle just to put food on the table and feed his kids. That's what I call skin in the game. And he's going to talk to us about having to, how we can get out of debt and build wealth at the same time. So, Tanya, if you'd be so kind as to welcome Rennie to the show, I'll push the button and let him in the back door.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome, Rennie. We are so excited to have you today. It is going to be an amazing show. We're all looking forward to it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya. And I don't know why I have to come in the back door. What am I, the servant here?
No, I don't have a key to the front door. They don't trust me yet.
Okay. All right. I can deal with that.
Yeah, the back door's on one I can pick.
I tell you, you are world renowned. We're so excited that you're here, and we are so blessed to be able to just glean from your experiences, your wealth building techniques, your strategies. We're very looking forward to it. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. It's my honor. And thank you for allowing me to get out the message.
Yeah, actually, yes. Rennie and I were talking a few weeks ago, and he was thinking about setting up a program like what we're going to cover during this week on his podcast. And I says, hey, let us be your test monkeys. We can do it on our show because this is such an important message. Because as I said on Facebook there, college kids, they know all about student debt. And universities, you would think there would be some class somewhere to teach them how to get out of debt, but they don't even teach those kids or anybody, even when I went to school, and that's back, way back long before they invented the forward pass in the football. But they don't even teach you how to balance a checkbook, for goodness sakes. But really, before we get started, would you be so kind as to share with the audience a little bit about Rennie, a little bit about your background, and then we're going to just get right on into it and drop the plow and start plowing, brother.
Yeah, you got it. It's kind of embarrassing. So I'll start with the first thing that's an embarrassment. And that was that I failed high school math. So you'd think starting there, handling money effectively, creating wealth would make it rather difficult. And it has nothing to do with anything. The next thing, like 9 out of 10 people, I was not taught how to handle money. Like you said, it's not taught in school, not taught in high school, not taught in college. Parents can't teach what they don't know. So 9 out of 10 people, are pushed out into life with a job or whatever they're doing with no idea how to do a personal budget, how to manage finances for themselves, their household, none of that. And the embarrassing part is it wasn't taught to me either, even when I became a certified financial planner. And you think, wait a second, if someone is having a struggle with money, shouldn't they turn to a financial planner? Shouldn't they turn to their CPA? Well, it's not taught to them either. So the people you turn to don't have the skill set to teach their clients how to handle money any better with the foundations. It's an embarrassment.
It really is. Go ahead, sir.
So I was just going to say that after a couple divorces and a business failure, I found myself at age 50, flat broke. But at least I had knowledge. And I put that into practice. Let me rephrase it. I looked around and saw what wealthy people were doing, and that's what I put into practice.
That's it. Yeah. And I think if I could just say something really quickly in regards to what you were just saying, I think almost society actually has set us up for failure in regards to not teaching us those things. And I think sometimes it's almost on purpose due to the fact of if our young people or if we had been taught those things, those simple foundational things in regards to wealth building and money and strategies for, debt reduction, I'm wondering if the financial community, those who obviously benefit from us getting into loans, getting into debt, I'm wondering if obviously that's the reason why we weren't and are not taught those simple things, whether it's in high school and college and whatnot.
Well, actually, I think it's more insidious than that. And what I'm getting at is I did a TED talk where I talked about how we are programmed to be poor.
And
the
I'd
poor
like to hear that.
Okay, well, the poor are the ones who are looked at as being the noble, the kind people, the wonderful people, the people who have fun. And let's talk about Hollywood movies like Titanic. I mean, if someone out there watching hasn't seen Titanic, it's hard to imagine. But if you think about it, yeah, okay, great. So, was Jack the poor guy or the rich guy?
The poor one.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, who won Mary's heart? The rich guy or
one.
Exactly. Okay. So we could talk about Charles Dickens' books. We could talk about
that's a good point.
The scripture where it talks about, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. We could talk about fairy tales like, Jim's old enough to know about Jack and the Beanstalk. I don't know about you, Tanya. You look pretty young.
What'd he say?
What'd you say? No. I thank you so much, Rennie, for that nice compliment.
Yeah. Well, you know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
I was there.
So, thank you, Jim. You were in the right neighborhood. I was living in a different neighborhood. Jim and I are like about a month apart in age. But you got Jack. He's poor. He, throws these beans away. His mom wants to kill him. He sells a cow for beans, but it grows into this beanstalk up into the heavens. And who's up in the heavens but a giant who has a goose that lays golden eggs, a singing harp. So what does Jack do? He steals some of the eggs. He steals the goose. The giant chases Jack down the beanstalk. He cuts down the beanstalk, kills the giant. And what's the moral of the story? It's okay to kill the rich if you're poor.
Yeah,
now, that isn't that isn't the way the moral is told.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? I'm talking about insidious.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even this country today, everybody thinks, the rich should do more. The rich should do more for us poor folks. And, the sad part of it is, where is the shackle and chain that's strangling you from your neck down, holding you back?
I don't think it exists. It's all in the mind.
Oh,
I mean, it's not okay. Let me rephrase this. I haven't been poor, but I have been broke, because poor is a state of mind.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was just going to say. Poverty is a state of mind. Broke is a temporary situation. And I think that people need to be educated in their mindsets. That there needs to happen a paradigm shift. And how can we help others if we don't have anything to give? That is not going to happen. And so wealth, the love of money, right, may not be a good thing, but we have to have money to survive. We have to have money in order to thrive. We have to have money in order to help other people, to give back, to help our families. So I think that mentality needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's two things along this line. One of them is the saddest thing that I heard someone say. The saddest thing is a broke philanthropist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow,
I
that's
love
good.
a quote. I love a quote from Warren Buffett, where he talks about wealthy people, because a lot of people feel, well, if I become wealthy, I'll be corrupt. No, if they start off corrupt, it's not going to help them. But Warren Buffett has this great, has this great expression. He says, "Of the billionaires I have met, money just brings out the basic traits in them.
That's true.
If they were jerks before they had money, they were
Come
simply
on.
jerks with
That's
$1 billion."
Wow.
And
Wow.
the opposite is true. If you're a good person and you create wealth, you'll still be a good person. You'll be able to donate to the causes that touch your heart.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
The biggest philanthropists in the world happen to be the wealthiest people in the world.
That's right. That's right.
So,
because it
exactly
just
right.
amazes me, the attitude that a lot of people have towards the rich. They kind of look at them like they're evil, or they're just took advantage of someone. And all that is, ladies and gentlemen, that's just a lame duck excuse for you to feel better about yourself because you're not seeking self-improvement.
That's right.
And,
I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's I would assume, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Jim and Tanya, that people who watch this program don't fall into that category.
That's pretty true. It really is, because the people that watch our show from all over the world, they're interested in self-improvement. They want to be able to rise up. They want to be productive. They want to be able to, help their fellow man. And they're not in it for, cars and furs and diamond rings and all that.
Right.
They really aren't. They're into how can I start a foundation? How can I do something to make the world a better place?
And give back.
And Rennie, I want to thank you, because on Friday on our radio show, Your Future Is Now, goodness gracious, we've got 3 or 4 downloads there, as you can see. But our radio show, we had Dustin Potash. He is one of the people that works with the sheltertosoldier.org program. You're very much involved in that, and I'm going to let you share a little bit. But the Shelter to Soldier program saves 2 lives. The first life that is saved in that wonderful program is the dog, to keep it from being put to sleep. And that dog is trained, and they have dogs already trained waiting for, soldiers that suffer from PTSD. And they bring in about 4 or 5 dogs, and let's see how see which one the soldier connects with, and the dog connects with the soldier. But the beautiful thing is, every single soldier that has received a dog has not committed suicide.
And the suicide rate among returning veteran soldiers is almost 1 an hour.
Yeah.
So like you said, they're saving 2 lives at a time. Dogs that would have otherwise been euthanized, that have a purpose in life, and soldiers that might have otherwise committed suicide.
Yeah.
Wow,
and it's traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah. And both of those lives, they know what they mean to each other. Because I'm convinced dogs are some of the best psychologists and psychiatrists on planet Earth, because at least in my case, they can look at me and read me like a book. And they know how to get anything and everything out of me. The reason I'm mentioning that, because I want Rennie to expand on what he does with his book, the profits from it, but to plant a seed of thought out there. How would you like to be involved in this organization, or create an organization for the betterment of people in your community?
Yeah. And that's, I'm just so honored to be a major donor for Shelter to Soldier.
Oh, yeah.
And in the same way that I came up with an idea that I'll just, I don't have to work for a living. Okay. So we'll get that out of the way. So then what the heck am I selling programs for? Why am I selling books? Do I have coaches who are providing coaching? Why are people having to pay for that? Well, it's simple. because Shelter to Soldier gets 100% of the profits from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
So,
that's awesome.
So that wouldn't happen if I still had to work for a living.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing too, one of the reasons why Rennie charges for that and donates those funds to Shelter to Soldier, other than, you know, the great benefit there, but also to make no mistake about it. In our minds, we're all guilty of this to some degree. If something is free, it has no value to it.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And we need to be aware of that. And so people ask me, you know, some of the things we do that, you know, they want it for free. Well, it's got no value.
Yeah, that's sad, but it is true. When people get something for free, that's the level of value they place on it. They're not going to carry it out. They've got no skin in the game.
Right.
Whether it works or doesn't work, they'll never know because they're not going to put out the effort because they didn't put any skin in the game.
Absolutely. And the first thing that you mentioned in your notes when you sent it to us is that you were going to identify the problem about how people get shackled into debt. And of course, we know they don't teach them anything about how to get out of debt or how to balance a checkbook. But I just wanted you to just share anything that you'd like from that point, and let's go forward, sir.
Okay. Probably one of the most important things, and this has to do with mindset and the idea that, you know, the banks are out to get people more burdened with debt and obligations because that's where their profit comes from. It doesn't come from someone putting money in the bank in a savings account. It comes from loaning that money out at a higher interest rate. And so when you look at where priorities need to be, if someone has credit card debt, it is not to focus on paying off the debt. So wait a second. My CPA says I should be paying off the debt first. Other financial gurus say focus on paying off the credit card debt.
That's true. That's true. Snowballing technique.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the snowballing technique is great if you started investing first. And that's what isn't being said. And I'll give you the best example. Okay, I'm broke at age 50. I'm paying myself first $500 a month. I've got credit card debt. I could have, instead of making the minimum payments, applied that $500 a month to get rid of my credit card debt. But if I would have done that, 3 years later, I would not have had $18,000 to invest in a 3-unit piece of rental property, which meant I might have gotten rid of the debt, but I would have not been able to create any assets that would produce an income for me, whether I was working or not working.
Yeah.
I love that.
Now you see why we wanted Rennie here on the show, ladies and gentlemen, because Rennie comes from the school of hard knocks like a lot of us do. And most importantly, the people who say, oh, just pay off your credit cards, focus on that and all that, they didn't come from the school of hard knocks. If they were not born with a silver spoon in their mouth, at least it was pewter. We didn't even have a spoon.
Yeah, we use those sporks from the chicken place.
Yeah, the sporks. I like it. The spoon with the L, with the tag
with the little points on it. Exactly.
Yeah, I tell you.
Well, the reality is that if someone focuses on paying off their debt, I've seen it, I'm sorry, over and over and over again. They pay off their credit card debt. Some emergency comes along. They build up the credit card debt again. Then they focus on paying that off, and then they pay it off. And then some other emergency comes up, and they're on the roller coaster, and they find it at 50, 60, 70 years of age. Okay, maybe they paid off the debt again, but they have nothing else.
Yeah. Amazing. That's so true. And, you know, the Band-Aid approach, the Band-Aid fix on a fracture that you hear from the other so-called gurus out there, they just tell you, well, you need to focus on paying off your credit card debt and this and that. And like Rennie says, you know, and I know, as soon as you get in the car and go somewhere, somebody's going to call you and say, hey, you know, the water heater quit working. Well, go out in the backyard.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, go out in the backyard and get you a pot and fire and heat the water yourself.
Oh, yeah. I just spent $1,600 on a new water heater.
Yeah.
Exactly. And in
Yeah.
that in
Yeah.
that case, you guys, no one's going to come to your rescue, bottom line.
That's
And
right.
you better know, and you better have some extra assets or something saved up somewhere in order to
Hmm.
help the situation for yourself. So bottom
Yeah.
line for what I'm hearing is you need to have a wealth building strategy. And so what I'm hearing is asset building. And so
Hmm.
I was told years ago you need to have multiple streams of income, at least 7. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you feel about that, Rennie, or what but in that situation, so that's how you first started. You started just paying yourself $500 a month, and then what did you do? What else did you do in regards to paying off your debt?
Well, I just made the minimum payments until the
Yeah,
profit from the multi-unit properties became
came in.
greater. And
Yes.
then it doesn't matter what I charge each month, it's paid off in full because of the income I have now.
Hmm.
Again, that would not have happened if I focused on paying off the credit card debt first. And I
Wow.
do believe in
I love
multiple
that.
streams of income.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, the, the way I phrase it is there are a lot of people I know that have a job.
Hmm.
And so 100% of their
Hmm.
income is dependent on this one source,
Hmm.
this job. I'm too insecure for
I
that.
know. I know.
I'm
I
too, in,
know.
yeah. I
Me
just,
too.
hey, I'm
I
too insecure
know.
to have a job and have 100% of my money coming from one place. And let's say that guy doesn't like the way I parted my hair and says,
Exactly.
you're fired.
Come on.
Mm.
That's right.
I lose
That's right.
100% of my income, still have 100% of my bills.
Hmm.
Mm.
And so, what I've always done since I've been very young is if I had a company, at one time we had about 300 clients, which means if one of the clients said, Rennie, I don't want to work with you anymore, I don't like you. Oh, fine. I got 299 who are still paying me.
Yeah. Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right. Hmm.
So,
Ex-
So
multiple.
you created streams of wealth for yourself. This is what I'm hearing. You created
Well,
from your
I created,
talents,
yeah,
your gifts. You came up with a thought. Then you implemented it in vision. You executed it, and then you created multiple your streams of income. You created
yes.
that.
And it doesn't matter if it's multiple clients or multiple income sources. I've got
Mhm.
triple net leases. I've got rents from apartment buildings. I've done peer to peer lending. I've got second trust deeds. We finance house flippers. I mean, on and on and
My
on. So even
goodness.
the investment income is multiple
Mm.
streams.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
It-
it's out of insecurity.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's kind of
That
like that
is
old. It's kind of like that old proverb, folks. Sometimes where you stand depends on where you've been forced to sit. And Rennie knows where he was forced to sit, and I think we've all been there. Some people, say, "Well, I'm broke" or something like that. If you can't say you're broke, just say, "Well, right now I'm kind of financially embarrassed." You know.
Yeah, yeah. I've been there a few times.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And, it's really great to have someone that's got the background of Rennie, the wisdom and the knowledge,
it
because,
is.
like those college kids, I mean, every single professor in there knows that those kids are going to run up most of them are anyway, a huge student loan debt. And you would think somewhere along the line, there would be something to share with these folks to help them to get a vision of how to get from where they are to where they need
That's
to be or
good.
want to be.
Well,
Hmm.
do you think the college professors were taught anything about the money?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
So, I mean,
Very few and far
teachers can't teach
between.
what they've never learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I'll give you an example. And then what I want to touch on is the 3 secrets that wealthy
Okay.
people
All
know.
right. I like secrets. How about you?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is talking about teachers. I got a program into 20 high school districts, not 20 high schools, 20 high school districts that would teach students how to handle money effectively. And I
Mm.
presented it to the teachers
I
at,
love it.
at some meeting. I came back a year later to find out what the results were. And I was embarrassed to find out none of the teachers taught any of the material. Why do you think that is?
Oh no.
They
Well,
didn't know what they were
probably.
teaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They didn't understand it themselves probably, and
Mhm.
probably weren't
exactly.
committed to implementing it themselves either.
Right. So
Mm,
so when I came back, what I realized is I've got to teach the teachers because they're
Mhm.
not going to teach the material they're not familiar or comfortable with.
Mhm.
And so, that's why we're not getting the education. Now,
Wow.
let's talk about
that's
three
exactly right.
secrets.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And the three, I have
All
an
ears.
acronym. Yeah. Yeah. I got an acronym for it. It's AFI. Uh,
AFI.
yeah. It's not the American Film Institute. Okay.
Mm.
That's not it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
AFI stands for the three secrets the wealthy people understand. And the first is A for attitude.
Mm.
Mhm.
They do have a different attitude. They listen to familiar information differently. They look at debt differently and a whole host of other things. And in the coming days, we'll talk about those things.
Mhm.
The F stands for forms. Now, many of us have probably used the same forms that wealthy people use. Like, if you apply for a loan at the bank, they want to know how much money you've got and where is it
Mhm.
sitting. But they
Mhm.
look at these forms differently than ordinary people. And the I, so the A stands for attitude, the F stands for forms, the I stands for investments.
Mm.
The wealthy are not
Mhm.
limited to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And that's what ordinary people think about is, oh, I got to invest in the stock market. No, I
Mm.
know people who have 100% return in their business and they think, oh, I got to invest in stocks.
Mhm.
Different attitude when it comes to investments, forms,
Mhm.
and attitude. And in the coming days, we'll talk about all of those areas.
Oh yeah. You're right about that. Wealthy people, they look at things differently. They don't look at the in any kind of a problem because a lot of times people look at things and they just look at. It's kind of like a rose bush. You can walk outside, you can look at the thorns, or you can look at the roses.
It's
And the
Yep.
people
true.
who look at the roses, they see the beauty in life. And the people who are negative minded, they look at the thorns and say, "Oh my gosh, that thing can hurt you." You know.
Yep.
It's so true, and I like to say something in regards to that. I think there is such a thing as a poverty mentality
Hmm.
passed
Yes.
on from generation to generation,
Oh
generational
yeah.
poverty, and so it takes someone in that family to rise up and to break that generational poverty mentality. And so, and I've talked to multiple millionaires. I've, in regards to seeing things differently, having different attitudes, and seeing investments differently. There's crypto, there's all sorts of different avenues in regards to building your wealth. And
Hmm.
when I talk to them, their thinking is, how can my money make more money for me? How can
Hmm.
my money best make more money for me? And the quickest route, the way that, and the biggest ROI that I can get return on it, my investment. And so, I just had someone recently contact me. He's a multimillionaire. He does big, huge investment with artwork in Europe and different places. And he said, listen, he said, I can double your money within 2 months. And we were talking about it. So these are opportunities that, you need to think about. I think sometimes we don't want to limit our thinking, that we can think outside of the box. And sometimes the things that hinder us is the things that we don't know about. There's a lack of
Hmm.
knowledge. And so because of the lack of knowledge, for instance, what you were just talking about with investments, you were rattling off all sorts of different types of investment opportunities, and some of those I knew, some of those I didn't. And so those are the things that I think we have to be on the cutting edge of understanding and knowledge of what's out there, how, and if we don't know, those are the things we just don't know.
Yeah.
And
And actually, oh, go ahead, Tanya.
no, those are the things we need to seek out. We need to look for people who are doing want to do, or are being successful in that area that we want to be successful in, and then tap into those strategies, tap into that mentality, and surround ourselves with those kinds of people. I think
You're
that's super
absolutely right.
important.
You want, it's so easy just to model what works. And that's what I started doing at age 50. But before you get there, you'll want to have knowledge about yourself. And here's what I'm getting at. When I would teach a class at UCLA on money, one of the first things we would do is a word association exercise. I would ask the students to come up with the first thing that comes into their mind when I would say a certain word. And we would go through this exercise, and it would identify whether or not they have a poverty or a prosperity attitude based on the word association exercise. So I had people who said, I want to have money, and their word association exercise showed they had a negative score around money. Well, they might say they want it, but their attitudes and belief structure is that they're afraid of it. They don't want it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm so sorry, Rennie. Go ahead.
And that's important. So a part of the knowledge is identifying what you believe first before you can move on.
That's it.
One of the things that just keeps popping up in my mind is that, I knew kids growing up, and we wanted to be something, whether it be a police officer, a fireman. One guy little kid I knew real well, he wanted to be a race car driver. And another guy wanted to play professional baseball and all that. But every single one that we looked up to was a mentor. They were very, very successful in what they did. Why is it we come to become adults? We go to some of the most brokest people on planet Earth and listen to them for financial advice. Now, that makes about as much sense if you and I own a liquor store and I come and tell you we got the perfect manager for it, and you ask me who, and I tell you the town drunk. He knows everybody in town. You go, have you lost your mind? This guy drinks us out of business.
All the liquor too.
Yeah. He knows the name of all that good stuff, But, it's just amazing how we get bigger. I don't know what it is. Is it our vision shifts, Rennie, or what?
It does need to shift. And here's how I'd explain it. When I was a kid, I was a latchkey child. I'd come home from school. There was no one there, 5, 6 years of age. And I made up this belief, whether it's true or not is irrelevant, because at 5, 6 years of age, you believe things and you don't have any filter to block inappropriate things. But I believed I'm responsible for my own well-being. There's no one else who's going to take care of me. And that's how it is. Well, guess what? When I'm 40 years of age, the attitude of a 5 or 6 year old child is not the right one to be running the show of an adult. And the thinking has to be broken up that I'm going to take care of myself. I'm the only one who can do it. I shouldn't ask anyone else for help, because that is not how success is created. Success is a team sport. Wealth creation is a team sport. Success in business is a team sport. It's not a solo sport. And that's the thinking I had to break up if I was going to transform my situation.
That's really good. That's a really good thing to bring out. And I think too that the one thing what we're talking about is recognizing what our beliefs are about money, recognizing the limiting beliefs we have in association with money, and then obviously coming in with strategies in order to overcome those limiting beliefs, and then creating real belief, like a good solid belief system in regards to money. How are you able to do that, Rennie? What's a really good strategy for anyone who is having limiting beliefs? What is a really good strategy to turn that boat around for them?
Well, the first thing you have to do is identify what it is. You can't change something when you don't even know it exists. And so that's what the word association exercise is designed to begin uncovering. And there are other things like paradigms. The things that you may have been told as a child that you believed, like I made up this thing about I'm responsible for myself. No one else is going to be. But, well, let me ask you, Jim, Tanya, do you believe the world is flat?
No.
No. Okay, fine.
I don't either.
But if we go back a few hundred years, most people believed the world was flat. That was the paradigm.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, there are people who may have told you what you can do or can't do, and they weren't even experts. And let me give you an example. Ken Olson, who was the president of DEC Computers, said there is no reason for anyone to have a computer in their home. He's in the computer business. He's an expert. Okay. There's a very famous saying from Thomas Edison. And he said, the phonograph has no commercial value. He invented it. I mean, he made a fortune off his invention. Now, granted, we're all old enough that we have to find out what a phonograph is. But the point is, it was a huge commercial success.
Yeah.
And so you have experts in their field of expertise, not even able to say things that are correct.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So when a parent tells you what you can or can't do, or some school counselor tells you what you can or can't do, that doesn't mean you have to believe it.
Oh,
right. And that's
they're
how
not experts.
That's right. And that's how those limiting beliefs are created, because someone says that to you and then you choose to believe it, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, because sometimes those subconscious beliefs, you have to dig deep in, and then you have to pull out the roots, and it's true what you're saying. You can't even recognize if there's a problem if you don't even see it yourself. Sometimes it's so deeply rooted that you have to do that major work on the inside. And to reconcile your relationship with money and to heal that money issue, maybe you do need to look inside yourself. I agree with that. I definitely agree. And especially, I'm going to say this, especially in religious sectors, where maybe a perpetrating thought is money is bad or whatever. Money is not bad. We need money.
I laugh about that. I laugh about that, ladies and gentlemen, because I remember a kid in church, and I was about 5 or 6, and I heard the preacher up there. He's preaching about money's the root of all evil, and da 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 da. And he was just really slamming money up one side and down the other. And then I thought, well, why are they passing out the collection plate?
Well, to take away all that evil from you.
Oh, okay. But we didn't have that much evil, evidently. But just amazing.
Here's a situation. Here's a situation. I will say this. I just recently, like even before we started this show, I had someone reach out to me and ask me for money. Has a really big foundation and whatnot, and I don't mind donating. I have my own foundation. I don't mind donating and whatnot. But my question was this. My question back to this person who was the CEO, I said, listen, wouldn't you rather know how to grow your wealth? Wouldn't you rather wouldn't you, if I could teach you how to grow your wealth, would you be interested in that? And, and she came, and this person came back and said, yeah, of course I would love to do that. That way, if I teach her how to grow her wealth, then, maybe she could donate and she could give back and she could do all the things that she's wanted to do and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in, I think that we need to shift those mentalities.
Oh, yeah.
You're speaking of is the expression that you can give a man a fish and he eats for a day, or you teach him how to fish and he eats for a lifetime.
That's
Amen.
Right. That's right.
Another one of these old school myths that sayings that meant well. How many times have you ever heard in your life when you're growing up that all you got to do is go to school, get a good education,
oh my goodness,
and be set for life? Okay.
Right here.
Now, name one place on planet Earth where that airplane can go down the runway and take off.
I can't.
Yeah, it does not exist. I mean, it sounds nice. It sounds all rosy posy, but it's got more holes in it than a Swiss cheese. I mean, goodness, it just no value. But people mean well when they say that because they don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, the idea of get a good education, get a good job, work for 40 years and retire. Well, to start with, no one's going to get to be employed at the same place that long.
Oh,
and I would never want to have 100% of my income relying on one place. It's just, I'm too insecure for that.
I bet you could relate to that song like I can from Lou Rawls. I don't want no gold watch for working 50 years from 9 to 5. I'm a natural man. I'm going to roll my own, and that gives you so much freedom. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tom.
And you see the danger of that.
Mm-hmm.
We've experienced the danger of it,
absolutely.
through the pandemic where people, and I can tell you right now, I saw this with my own eyes. I won't drop any names of institutions, but I saw instructors and professors being fired on the spot who had worked there for 20 years or 15 years, whatever it was. And, them absolutely being stunned during the pandemic. So, I saw that with my own eyes and them going, what am I going to do now? And so, do you think they had a backup plan? No, they did not. And here's another thing. I wish we could teach entrepreneurship even to our kids at an early age, which, my daughter, she's entrepreneur. She's a little entrepreneur, God bless her soul. But, these are the things that, we need to teach our young people, and we need to teach, it needs to be taught because entrepreneurship is becoming more and more in the forefront because we've had to be. It's had to be because we've had to pivot, obviously from the brick and mortar into the digital space in different areas of business, because of the pandemic. And it's pushed people. It's pushed people to think outside the box, because we've had to. But here's my thinking is that needs to be taught and it needs to be demonstrated. It needs to be lived out loud because, a job is just not getting it nowadays. It just isn't.
And it's so funny too, because as you're talking, all of a sudden I was thinking of my own tenants. We're down to about 27 families now. But guess what? Through this entire pandemic, except for one single person, 100% of the tenants have paid 100% of their rent.
It's awesome.
Through this entire pandemic.
It's wonderful.
And you want to know how I think that happened? Two things. One, obviously I screened them well before I rented to them, but every single one of them got a copy of my book as well. I taught my tenants how to handle money well.
See, that's it. That's it.
And I'm benefiting from that.
And would you hold up that? Would you hold up that book? Would you hold up that book? Yeah. Let's see it.
Get a copy of that.
Yeah. Okay. That says
any income.
Wealth on Any Income, ladies and gentlemen. How can people get their hands on that wonderful book, Rennie?
They can go to the website that has the same name. I keep thinking my podcast has got that title. The book's got that title. The website's got that title. I'm simple-minded. Okay.
Yeah. Is that it there?
From my website.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if they buy it from the website instead of from Amazon, then 100% of the profits. Actually, I donate 100% of the cover price to Shelter to Soldier.
It's wonderful.
Wow. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, there might be someone out there listening and says, this is what I want to do. I want to do something in my life. Well, the secret of it is the first thing you got to do is set yourself free. Don't be enslaved to anybody's, like I tell people in the United States, don't be enslaved to Uncle Sam's plantation. Because that's the last people on planet Earth.
It's a true statement.
Yeah, that's the last people on planet Earth that's really caring enough whether or not you got a biscuit to eat with your eggs in the morning. Okay, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I learned a long time ago, Uncle Sam's not your buddy. So if you want to set yourself free, you got to set yourself free in your mind first of all, and then read books like Wealth on Any Income. You can get it, Wealth on Any Income.com from Rennie, because Rennie comes from a place that, he grew up, from the hard side of life, what I call the post side of town, like Johnny Rivers' song, the post side of town. And like I tell people, we didn't know we were poor growing up on a farm in North Carolina until we went to town, because what we were rich in were the things that money could not buy. But there is so much richness you have in your heart and in your soul and in your mind. And if you want to do good for others, start with yourself, how to set yourself free, how to acquire knowledge. And I highly recommend for you to get Rennie's book, because 100% of the funds is going to go save the profits are going to go to save 2 lives. That is just a win-win-win.
Win-win.
Yeah. And when you do that, that's when you set yourself up for success, because the universal law will not let you fail if you have that kind of a heart and mindset. But if you leave the house and your mindset is focused on how can I get somebody to help me butter my own bread, your ship is sunk. So you might as well stay home.
That's right.
You're not going to get on the other side of the
Right.
lake. But there's a lot of people out there with that attitude. They
And
only look at
I agree with what you're saying, Jim. I think it starts with taking ownership and responsibility for your life and for your choices, knowing that you are empowered and you can make different choices. You can have a different outcome. Someone told me one time, and I loved when they told me this: you are so creative. You are so creative that you will never be broke. And so if people can hear what I'm saying in that statement, Rennie is so creative that he thought outside the box. It pushed him to go to that next level in his life. He knew where he wasn't working. So he said, wait, this isn't working. This is not going to cut the cheese. This is not going to cut it for me. So I need to do something different. It pushed him. And situations like that will either break us or make us. They will either push us forward, or we'll just wallow in it. But we have the creativity inside of us enough so that we can use our gifts, we can use our talents, and we can monetize on those gifts and talents, and we can think outside the box and truly create for us a better future.
And make sure you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And when it comes to a guy like me, that's real easy. You see a smart person there and a smart lady over there.
I was going to point to you, Jim.
Yeah, they make me feel real good. They make me sound semi-intelligent.
You are.
I laugh about it from the standpoint of, failing high school math, staying away from math as much as I could, and not recognizing till I was much older, the way you're labeled in high school has nothing to do with what you can do in life.
Next week, we're going to be talking about homeschooling the entire week. And I'm telling you what, when you said that about school, that rang a bell with me, because all the way through school, everybody probably thought I was dumber than a box of rocks. And I go down and take the ASVAB test before I go in the Army. And the guy said, well, what do you want to do? You can take anything by counting to welding. You got above average intelligence. And I sit there and look at him. Because I thought that was language I'd never heard before. I said, would you call my mother and tell her that? Because she's not going to believe it if it comes to me. Mama's not going to believe that one. I can tell you that right now. Oh, Lord. But yeah, it really is amazing how, people can label you, and it's only true if you accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
Only true if you accept it. If someone tells you you're worthless, it's only true if you accept it and believe it.
But the problem is, when you're a child and you hear this, you don't have the filters to block that stuff out. And that's damaging for your whole life. But I'll give you the opposite story.
Okay.
My daughter and I were skiing up in Mammoth Mountain, California. And we're looking down this hill. And I said, let's go down here. And she looked at it and said, oh, I can't do that. I can't go down. That's too steep. I can't do that. I said, stop that chatter.
That's it.
Just follow me down the hill.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to the bottom, we turned around and I said, now look at where we came from. And she said, oh yeah, okay, I did it. And I said, that's right. I never want to hear you say again that there's something you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
She was 8 years old at the time.
And
that's carried her for the rest of her life.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's the opposite that's true.
And you yes. And
the good
that's
stuff,
the thing.
And it sticks.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that starts in the home. It starts in the home.
Yeah.
And I think that when you give your children the voice, that you understand the power in their voice, and you affirm that, you affirm their ideas, you affirm that they can do it. I think that it plays into so much, their self-esteem, their confidence, their future building, all of that. And so that's super, super important. And but I think too, and I want to point something else out in regards to when you start to make the shift and when you start to acquire wealth, you will see the people around you if they are wanting to make the shift or not. You understand what I'm saying? If they are wanting to make the shift, they will, and because you get some flack back. When people see you prospering in your soul and in your physical material wealth, there comes with that jealousy and all sorts of other things, that if people don't want to make the shift, then there's accusations, there are all sorts of things that are thrown at you. But regardless, it takes strength and courage to be prosperous and to be wealthy in ways. So because you need to understand your core values, you need to understand your why, you need to understand your motive, your intentions, and you need to operate with a level of integrity in that. And truly, if that's what I found, at least. I don't know, Rennie. Have you found different or?
No, Tanya, I have to agree with you. And there's a book called Change Anything, which brings that out, in that there are 6 areas of support that we need to accomplish what we want. And a key component of that is the people you surround yourself with. Like Jim Rohn said, your income will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And the thing is, if you're changing and transforming, there will be people who want to change and transform along with you, and there are people who feel you're going to leave them behind.
Absolutely.
And they want to hold you back.
Absolutely.
It's a natural reaction. And unfortunately, what that means is there will be people you will have to find new friends, and there will be people who are your old friends that you may not be able to be in as much contact with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're going to transform, that's a byproduct.
Rennie, what was the name of that book again?
It's a really complicated name. It's called Change Anything.
Change Anything. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's 5 authors. I think Maxwell is one of them. It's a fabulous book, and it's based on studies of children and how they're able to control their own behavior. And how they test it, and the peer pressure that allows them to either succeed or fail. So all of the stuff in the book is based on empirical studies. It's not ideas. It's based on actual results from empirical studies.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And one thing I've noticed and I've known in life, ladies and gentlemen, is that whenever you have a desire to change, to rise up, and you start looking, when you find your calling, regardless of what it is, you will know it. And there's one other thing I'd like to share with you right quickly before I forget about, and that is money is the poorest motivator on planet Earth.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lady the other day that befriended me, and then immediately she wanted to sell me this. She said, "Have you heard about Bitcoin?" Yes, I have. And she says, I mean, who hasn't? If you're alive, vertical,
you want to know who hasn't?
Yeah.
I got to tell you who hasn't. This was the shock of my life. I went into the bank to open a separate account to buy cryptocurrencies, so it wouldn't have any impact on any of my other accounts for safety reasons. Right. And when I asked the new accounts person why I wanted to open it up, I explained. She said, what's cryptocurrency?
Mm.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
The people in the bank,
Mhm.
they keep them in the dark. Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jim.
I was just
Yes,
going to
that's
say,
what I'm talking about right there. Yes.
yeah. And I was just going to say, she was saying how much money you can make, how much money you can make. And, that's dangling a carrot in front of someone's nose. And that only appeals to people who are in desperate situations. If you feel like your world is closing in, the 20th of the month, you're out of money, but you still got days left in the month, and someone is dangling a carrot in front of your nose like that, run from them. Not to them, but from them.
Yeah.
Because people, chances are most people who are saying that, they are struggling to buy the groceries and pay the rent themselves.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's a well-known fact.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to get in the boat with a bunch of drunks if they don't know which way to go. I mean, really, they're drunk on ignorance. And I'm not trying to knock them, but go ahead, Tanya.
No, it's okay. I do international currency trading too, and so I have teams.
Right.
And so, but I will tell you this. I will say that is not a get rich quick scheme. So you have to be careful, because there are people out there that will leech onto your vulnerabilities and then try to pump you for what you're worth and try to get what they can get out of you. It's the same thing in business too. So everyone comes with an agenda. You just have to figure out what it is. Or a motive. You have to be careful. You have to be very wise. You have to research the company, research what's going on, research who you're working with. And I think you need to make some wise choices and decisions with that. So, who are you with? Let's see results. What's going on? Is this legitimate or not? I think you need to do your own research for sure.
And look for that person who is willing to invest in you first.
Say that again, Jim. Oh my.
Yeah, look for that person who's willing to invest in you first. Not the people who are trying to put you together with cheap glue with some fancy dancy talk and big numbers. Because we've been talking about this whole program about people not understanding big numbers, so don't even go there, But I mean, my point being is that look for that person who is willing to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And then you search for ways how you can provide value in their life. That's when it's a win-win situation.
Yes, that's it.
Most people are just trying, get in your pocket. Go ahead.
It's the old Zig Ziglar quote of, you help enough people get what they want and you'll have everything that you want.
It sure will. Yeah. You sure will.
And Tanya, one of the things that I think, this is going to sound a little bit biased.
No, go ahead.
Okay. But as a woman, you have generally an intuition that tells you if someone that's talking to you is coming with the right motivations or the wrong motivations. Now, most men don't tap into that same level of intuition, but I've trained myself to do it because I could see from the women I've worked with that is far more accurate than any silly intellectual exercise I can go through. The gut is far more accurate.
It sure is.
Rennie, thank you. That I need absolutely, but I think sometimes we need to how should I put it? Believe in ourselves and believe in our own intuition.
Yeah.
And
that's a gift.
It is. And I think I've seen it in different women and different men too. Maybe they've been maybe some things have happened in their life, and has kind of, they felt like they've been driven over with a Mack truck. And you have to rebuild that. You have to, but you have to trust yourself. I definitely agree with that. Yeah,
I'm convinced when the good Lord looked down there and saw Adam down there by himself, he didn't say the guy needs a lover, a wife, a girlfriend. He looked at him and said, this boy needs some help.
He needs a helper.
Yeah, and I tell people, who knows, he was a guy, goofing off, didn't have anyone there. He didn't have his helper there. So him and the chimpanzees might have been throwing tangerines at one another or something. We got about 35 seconds left. And Rennie, if you would be so kind as to share with the folks what's in store for them tomorrow we're going to discuss. Go ahead, sir.
You got it. So tomorrow what we're going to talk about is the attitudes that wealthy people have in terms of looking at the big picture versus the details. the three areas from which most people operate and what works and what doesn't work. We'll go through maybe a little couples and money exercise if we have time. We'll talk some more about the paradigms and how we were influenced by the things that may not be true. And I want people to start working on their personal 5-year financial goal. So that's what's in store for tomorrow.
Oh,
good
my
deal.
goodness. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Oh,
for
yeah.
it.
So bring your money that you have and donate it to the Jim Grant Foundation. That's a wonderful organization. No, please share it with others and let some of your family and friends, let some of your broke friends know about this show here, because it could really change their life. But ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Tanya and Rennie, we want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Be sure and share this show with others. We're on their YouTube channel. It's the Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, same people. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening. We'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.